Ducati built their entire identity around a technology that no longer solves the problem it was invented for. They know it. They kept going anyway. Follow Sundrift, 5 levels of the Ducati Panigale V4. Let's go. At level 1, you see a red motorcycle that stops people in the street. Not because it's loud, not because it's fast, because it looks like it was designed by someone who was genuinely angry about what motorcycles had been settling for. The name comes from Borgo Panigale, the manufacturing district outside Bologna, where Ducati has been building motorcycles for decades. It's not a product name, it's an address. Ducati named their flagship after the neighborhood where it's made. Base V4 starts at around $23,995. There's a version for every level of ambition, as long as you define entry level generously. At level 1, you're buying the color, the sound, and the feeling of owning something built by people who cared too much. Level 2 is where you find out what's actually under the red paint. The Panigale name started in 2012 with the 1199. Ducati scrapped the traditional frame entirely and made the engine itself part of the chassis. The engine doesn't sit inside the frame. The engine is the frame. Remove it, and the bike falls apart. Literally. 2015 brought the 1299, 1285cc, the largest bore of any production supersport at the time. And here's what surprises people. The 1299 was actually easier to ride than the 1199. More power, better electronics, and somehow less terrifying. That's not luck. That's a decade of learning how to communicate that much power to a human being. Here's the detail nobody mentions. The 1299 Panigale, Ducati's flagship, was never eligible for World Superbike racing. At 1285cc, it exceeded the 1200cc twin-cylinder limit. They built a bike too big for their own race series. The entire V-twin Panigale era is the only Ducati Superbike generation that never won WSBK. So in 2018, after 60 years of V-twins, Ducati put a V4 in the Panigale. Not a street engine, a MotoGP engine. By level 2, this isn't just a fast motorcycle, it's the end of a 60-year identity. Level 3 is where the engineering gets strange. Every street motorcycle on Earth has a crankshaft that spins in the same direction as the wheels. The Panigale V4 crankshaft spins the opposite direction, deliberately, borrowed straight from MotoGP. What that does? When a normal crankshaft accelerates, the nose lifts. The counter-rotating crank pushes the front wheel down under acceleration. Under hard braking, it keeps the rear down too. The bike is fighting its own physics, using a crankshaft spinning backwards. To make the rear wheel spin the right way anyway, Ducati had to add an extra gear inside the engine. 2 street manufacturers do this, Ducati and MV Agusta. Everyone else said it wasn't worth it. Then there's the desmodromic valves, 2 cam lobes per cylinder. One opens the valve, one closes it mechanically. No springs. The system that let Ducati's race bikes hit revs impossible for spring valve engines in the 1950s. Mercedes-Benz used desmodromic valves in their W196 Formula One car in 1954, won multiple Grand Prix with it, then abandoned it when metallurgy improved. Ducati picked it up and built their entire brand around it. The Yamaha R6 revs to 16,000 RPM today. No desmodromic valves. Doesn't need them. Neither does any other motorcycle on Earth, except the ones Ducati chooses. And Ducati themselves quietly dropped Desmo on the Multistrada V4, giving it 37,500-mile service intervals. Better than most Japanese bikes. Their own engineers know. They keep it on the Panigale because removing it would feel like betrayal. By level 3, the Panigale V4 is held together by 2 engineering decisions nobody else makes anymore. A backwards crankshaft and a valve system invented to solve a problem modern materials solved 50 years ago. That's not a flaw. That's a portrait. Level 4 owns one and will tell you,
It's manageable in the real world. Not comfortable, manageable. Cornering ABS, traction control, wheelie control, slide control, launch control. The bike has more safety systems than most cars. It needs them.
The engine bore, 81 millimeters, is identical to the Desmodici GP race bike. Not inspired by MotoGP. The same bore, the same geometry, the same fundamental dimension as the bike Pecco Bagnaia races on Sunday.
Desmodromic service at 15,000 miles. Not the horror story, not free. Somewhere between myth and reality, which is where most of the Ducati ownership experience actually lives. At level 4, the owner has stopped explaining the bike to people who don't understand it. They've accepted it exists in a category of 1. Level 5 is where that becomes an industry-wide story.
When Ducati put a MotoGP engine in a street bike in 2018, every manufacturer had to answer a question they hadn't been asked before. Are you willing to go this far? BMW went shift cam. Kawasaki went supercharged. Honda finally went to 214 horsepower. All of them responding to the same thing. But here's what Level 5 actually asks. If desmodromic valves are technically obsolete, and engineering consensus says they are, and a backwards crankshaft adds complexity for benefits electronics could replicate, what exactly is the Panigale V4 selling? Identity. Engineering choices that exist for reasons beyond efficiency. A machine that says something about the people who built it, not just the people who ride it. Ducati built their brand on a technology Mercedes-Benz abandoned in 1955. They did it long enough that the technology became the brand. Now, they're at the moment every company eventually reaches, when the thing that made you is the hardest thing to let go of. They're not letting go. The Panigale V4 is proof. At level 5, this isn't the fastest superbike. It's the most honest one. Built by a company that knows exactly what it's doing, knows why, and decided that's enough. Most manufacturers optimize for the market. Ducati optimizes for Ducati. The WSBK championships in 2022 and 2023 suggest that might just work. 5 levels, 1 machine. From someone who just liked the red,
I like red,
to an industry still figuring out how to answer what Ducati did in 2018.
What did you do?
Backwards crankshaft, obsolete valve tech, MotoGP bore, best-selling superbike in the world. Drop your level below, 1 through 5. And if you own one, tell us which version. Subscribe to Sundrift, because we're not done yet.